I must have tempted fate today. You see, I ordered another head gasket for this engine down here, and guess what just came? The head gasket. It's not supposed to come till tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Good old FedEx. Charged a fortune for it, but still we got there. Yeah, this is it. Now, I had a bit of a shock a bit when it came, because I looked at this bit here and I thought, oh my goodness, that's got 3 holes in it, but actually this is the bit you look at, this bit here. So what I'm going to do first of all, we can really crack on with this engine now. I'm going to put the dowels back into the block. I prefer to put the dowels in the block rather than in the head, and the reason for that is in the head they can go quite deep, and it's a bit of a job to relocate the head and the gasket, if you see what I mean. You know, so beware these dowels, these split dowels. I've got a little chamfer on the edges, so put the chamfer down and tap them in. That's it, not too far. Sometimes I've seen people, when I've opened engines up, I've seen these missing. There you go. And then make sure you get the gasket on the right way around. This bit where the holes are always goes to the back. There we go. Now this, I think this is an OEM gasket. This was made in the UK for some strange reason. It wasn't a Victor one, but it was made in the UK. Hurrah! That's 2 bits that's made in the UK. So now, happy with that, we can pop the head on. Hurrah! This is going to be good. Just be careful. This is a brand new head. Just sort of wiggle it into place on those dowels. Having a bit of fun down there at that corner. Oh, that's it. It's just a bit tight on the dowel. Right. Let's get some bolts in. Yeah. Yeah, it's looking good. What we're going to do is bolt it all up. We must remember to put the bracket on for the air cleaner when we do this. It's really important. Discoveries don't have the bracket, but we've got to do that. So I'm going to get some bolts out. Now I'm going to use the Haynes manual again for this, because I couldn't be bothered to print the sheet out because it's already here. And if you get a Victor Wright's gasket, you will find out they've got 2 number 6 bolts instead of a 5 and a 6. Yeah, so I'm going to follow that. First of all, we're going to tighten them down to 40 Newton meters in this pattern, and then we're going to do 60 degrees. We'll get our angle gauge out. We've done this before. I don't want to keep doing things over and over again, so let me do the 40 Newton meters and then we'll come back. Once we've been down to 40 Newton meters, we're going to tighten them down with the angle gauge to 60 degrees for the first pass, 60 degrees for the second pass, and then on the big bolts we're going to, I think it was on 12mm, we're going to go down to another 20 degrees. Now, one thing I've just got to say, when you put this head on, I was quite surprised by the time I'd gone round in a circle with 40 Newton meters. When I got back into the middle it was a bit slack, so I went round them once again and just made sure, even just a crisscross zigzag, just to make sure everything was set down. I think it's because it's pulling down onto that dowel, I'm not really sure, but it seems alright now, it's good. So let's get this done and let's get it tightened down. Now I have written on top of the bolts with a pencil just to remind me, and also to make sure I've got them in the right order. I used to have a white crayon, but well, that's disappeared as usual. Tightening the head bolts down whilst it's on its stand is it's just such a joy. So all we do is we zero our machine. Now we should be able to see how it works. So we slowly tighten it down. There's 40, 53, Wait a minute. There's 60. So that's how it works. You see, you can't really see it when it's in the engine bay because you can't see it. So I thought I'd just do one. Boy, that was a workout. It was so much easier to do on the stand than in the engine. The next thing I'm going to do is fit the glow plugs. We've put some, what are they called again? Baroo. And they're kind of expensive, but they're kind of good because they're really fast. But you would have thought for the price they would have put a bloody nut on it, wouldn't you? No nuts, I haven't got any. Well, nuts like this. But that's one thing. So I'm going to have to go downtown to get a bolt for that tomorrow. I'll just put these in because I want to now test this once I've got the seal on the back for compression. I've got a blanking plate that I'll put across here, and it's not really for compression, but I want to test it for leaks, if you see what I mean. So what I do is I fill the crankcases full of smoke, and we're going to test and make sure all these gaps are leak free before we put the engine in. So I'm signing off today because I was down here at 4 o'clock this morning, and I think it's 4:45 now, so I think I've had enough. So we'll come back to this tomorrow, and I'll pop downtown first thing, probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. Right, back onto this head again. I've cleaned up the rocker shaft. I took it all to bits and put it back together again, and just cleaned it out, put it in the ultrasonic clean. It came up nice. I had to replace this rocker here because this one was pitted. The rest were okay. I've got all the original caps on there. Strangely enough, they were all there. The push rods are all been nicely cleaned. I put oil down inside the top of the tappets, and now I'm just going to give it a squirt of oil on the top of the sockets here, like this. Just to give everything a fighting chance. Now this is light oil, because it's the only thing I could find handy. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn these springs and things. Wait a minute, let's get it the right way around. We're going to put these springs in the top position. Now, just a little word of warning. If you think you're going to be clever and push these rockers, push these rockers together to oil underneath, these springs bend very easily and they don't come back, so just be aware of that. Now, there's 1, 2. There we go. Now they are a bit tricky to put in, but just like I say, if you make sure the springs are at the top, it should go down. There you go. Hey! Now, guide the rockers into the little sockets. They're almost all there. Just need a little prick. There we go. So they're all in. There we go. Just make sure they're all in, because if they're not, you'll have all sorts of trouble. I'll put a little bit of oil on these threads. Now the key to doing these is not to over tighten them. I've noticed there's a bolt missing, a nut. Go and find one. I don't know where that went, it should have been in the packet. I found some bolt nuts for the top of the glow plugs. We haven't tightened them down yet. Anyway, let me just run these down because that's a bit boring, and then we'll torque them up. A lot of people over tighten the rocker shafts up and strip the threads. It's supposed to be 5 Newton meters plus 50 degrees. That's 5 Newton meters. That's 5 Newton meters. What's these ones here? Not much. Much over tightened. Now 50 degrees. How the hell are we going to measure 50 degrees? Well, 45 degrees is a quarter, isn't it? Is it? No, an eighth. I'm not going to do it with a torque wrench. I'll find something else. Well, I've just done that one with this little ratchet here. So if I turn that around to about here, that seems to be about right. I'm not getting all the gauges out just for doing that. So let's see. There we are. There we are. There we are, that'll do that. Now, next thing, we haven't put the injectors in yet because we're going to turn it over to set the valves. We don't know where these are. Should be all over the place. So, let's turn it over and get... I'm going to do it my way. When these two are rocking, we set this one, and when these two are rocking, you set that one. It's a lot easier, you don't have to turn the engine all over, but a lot of people mess about the old method. It doesn't really matter. We've done valves before, we've done them over and over again. What the idea of this is just to show you some difference in assembly. So we'll do the valves, and then I'll show you how I put the covers on. So we're going to fit the rocker box cover, the valve cover. Just notice, you see there's a rib in there, but there's not on that side. I think this side's the way to go, because that'll help make a better seal. Well, that's the way I put them in. So I'm just going to put a little bit of sealer round the top of the rocker box, and hopefully that will make sure it doesn't leak. Well, we're going to test that in a minute, so we'll see. Now, this is where gloves really are handy. I put a little smear around it. This is the messy bit. Just a little smear on your finger all the way around of RTV sealer. It doesn't need much, just a bit. You know, you've got more on your hands than you've got anywhere else. More a messy job, eh? That's all it needs. I'm going to get cleaned up and then we'll put that on. With the valve cover on now, we're going to tighten the bolts down. I put new sealing washers on there. And again, you know, if you've got any sealer kicking about, now is the time to get it off while it's soft. And like I said, before you put it down, always wiggle this RTV stuff around. You shouldn't really need any on these, but they do leak after a period of time. 10 Newton meters is what you're looking for. I had to buy this little... I don't advertise, I get out from them. But I had to buy this little Tecton quarter drive to do small amounts of torque. And it's been quite good actually. Because you can't do it on your big 3/4 one. Let's get that right. There we are, there's 10. I think these are made for bicycles or something like that. We'll spin them down. Spin them down evenly. One, 2, 3, What do you do when you finish with your torque wrench? Always back it off. Back off. Now we can fit the glow plugs. We can also fasten these bolts down here, these screws. Now, what did I do with my extension? Just a second, I'll be back in a tick. We'll edit this bit out. Right, we'll fasten those bolts down onto there. I don't really know what size they are. Are they 7s? Let's try that one. Bingo. When you fasten these down, try and hold on to the wire as you're fastening it down. Like that, look. You can snap the electrode. And now is the time to put it in before you put your cyclone separator on and all those other bits and pieces. We'll put the injectors in next, I think. If you can remember when we were doing this video, we checked the gasket set out and found out there was steel gaskets dressed up as copper. Well, interestingly enough, those were Britpart ones from China. So I got some replacements. I got some Britpart ones, but these C of O, when I can get it spluttered out, country of origin, UK. No steel. All right, so that's interesting, isn't it? Now the funniest thing was somebody on the comments wrote to me the other day and said that they got some from Britpart and they were all steel. So there's no consistency in anything, is there? So let's put these on. We'll do number 1 first, because otherwise it gets boring doing them all. I'm going to just put some thread guard on these. I always like to put thread guard on injectors because sometimes they're a bugger to get out when they get stuck. And also I like to put some thread guard just on the tip there. Then we're going to put the washer on and we're going to put the concave side down. So it goes on like that, because at the bottom of the cylinder it's completely flat. Make sure you put the return hole at this side and drop your injector in. Now if they need to come out again at any time, they'll come out, but not only that, water shouldn't be able to get splashed in and start to rust the body. So let me get on with the rest of those. If you'd noticed on this rear number 4 cylinder, the clamp plate, the stud was missing. It had come off with the clamp plate. So it's really important to put these in properly, because if you didn't, they might not go all the way into the head. This shoulder must go into the head. So the trick is to double nut them and fasten them down. Now usually the studs do come out, you have to replace it because this was a new head. So it's no big deal, but sometimes if you're working on an older engine, just be careful of that when they come out, because you think, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll just wind it back down again. It's difficult to understand, but like I say, if you find out that the nut's right lower down than all the rest, you'll know that the stud isn't hitting the head. I know it sounds anal, but well, it's one of them things, isn't it? The last thing you want is to strip a thread. Aluminium's alright, but by gum, it's easy to break. So we're only going to sort of nip that down a little bit. We're not going to sort of go monster tight, because we're going to do our torque on the bolts. Now they're 25 Newton meters to hold the injector clamps down. Just get rid of these things, I've got too many things. 25 Newton meters, it isn't much, but it should be enough, because those copper washers were new. There we go. Another thing, these clamp plates, if you look very, very carefully at them, they're actually bored, so don't put them in that way, they're going that way. Right, just drop on like that, put the nut on, And then we'll get the torque wrench and set it to 25 Newton meters. Oh, here we go. Tighten. There we go. Some of them just don't feel right. Yeah, I'm going to quit on that one. I don't like that one. The bolt was a bit sticky on the thread. Boy, these black ones are tight. No, I don't like that. I'll oil the threads and I'll try them again. Right, let's have another go. That's better. That's better. Now, we can put in our pipes and our cyclone separator whilst we're here, and then we'll get set up for testing for crankcase leaks. That's why we haven't done the manifold or anything like that yet, because I'm going to put a plate across here, but I might just call this a day on this video because things are getting on a bit. I might just put the pipes on, there's nothing really to know there, but I'll build up this side and we'll come back. I put a new O-ring on here. Naturally, I don't think it's in the kit, but they never seem to fit properly, so I always like to put a little bit of RTV sealer on them just to push them in and make sure they're nice and snug, because they have been known to leak as you probably know. So now I've got to tighten that bolt up and tighten the hose clip up here. I put new hose clips on this pipe, they should be nice. What else can I do? Well, I think about it for this side really. I might just call it a day on this video. I don't know how far we've got, but yeah, I think we'll just call it a day on this one for now, and then we'll do a pressure test.